California, Nevada, Washington, New York, Alaska. Broadcasting all around the globe. Live from San Diego. Welcome to the one and only Sexy Fit Podcast.
Hello and welcome. My name is Zlata Sushik and I'm a lifestyle coach, founder of the Sexy Fit Method and the Sexy Fit community. From fitness competitor to fitness entrepreneur, I found my passion in helping you uncover your best self and feel sexy in your skin. Every week, I'm bringing you no nonsense, no BS, actionable nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle strategies from world-renowned experts so you can live a healthier, happier, and sexier lifestyle. So buckle down, sister. We're about to have some fun. Hello and welcome back to the Sexy Fit Podcast. Your host here is Zlata Sushik, welcoming back my brilliant, gorgeous friend, Arriane Alexander, who's a Rock Your Life coach. And she's a coach for female entrepreneurs, businesswomen, to help us businesswomen step into the possibilities and create a life and a career that we truly want and we truly desire. She spent over 12 years in a high-level executive position in the fashion industry, and she has a master's degree in spiritual psychology. She walked away from a super successful career from a dream job being an actress, and she's been on Grey's Anatomy, The People versus O.J. Simpson, and multiple different other shows. And she's truly walking the path of a female empowerment coach for entrepreneurs, health and fitness experts. And I loved connecting with her over her recent experience and my recent dating experience. And what we really talked about is how we unknowingly manifest our biggest fears in our life, how self-doubt and any other obstacles are blocking our path to true happiness and true self-actualization, if you would, and how we can feel more confident, radiant, and powerful in this journey we call life. And what I really loved about this episode is how her and I just truly, we connected. We didn't really have an agenda for the podcast today. I got kind of like this hit in my head, and I was like, oh, I got to record a podcast for Arriane. And then it turned out to be one of those powerful podcasts about really getting into an empowered frame of mind, taking responsibility, creating the life that we want from taking empowered actions and taking steps towards breaking out of our patterns and truly understanding what we are worthy of and how we live our life when we truly come from that place. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience with her today. She also offered a 4-part video series for how to bust through our limiting beliefs. It's at ArianeFreebie.com. And you can find everything that we talked about on this podcast on sexyfit.com/podcast. You didn't know I was going to sing, did you? Okay, so find more info on the sexyfit.com/podcast. Would love to hear from you in the SexyFit community, sexyfit.com/community. What are some of your thoughts, some of the things that you want to share, some of the takeaways? And without further ado, please welcome Arriane Alexander. Hello and welcome to the Sexy Fit Podcast. Before we dive into another episode, I gotta have a real conversation with us real quick. And the reason I want to have this real conversation real quick is because there's a lot of boo-boo stuff out there when it comes to achieving a lifestyle shift and creating a lifestyle that you truly want. I mean, countless programs, 14 days, 30 days, 5 days, 7 days. And I've never quite found a program that was this all-encompassing when it comes to mindset transformation, a transformation with your relationship with food, transformation with your relationship with your body, and a program where your coach and your facilitator and your community are so excited about your transformation that it is literally impossible to fail. And I teamed up with my friend Samantha Skelly from Hungry for Happiness. And she has recently opened doors to a program that's called The Society, which helps women release the endless dieting roller coaster and create a lasting lifestyle shift. And if you have been sick and tired of yo-yo dieting and nothing has worked and you've drank the shakes, you've done the stuff and you're ready for an in-depth transformation, you're ready to dive in, this program is worth checking out. Go to hungryforhappiness.com/sexyfit and you can read the details of the program and you can apply right away. And they're going to walk you through the exact steps when it comes to achieving a lifestyle shift and how they do that for their women. And, you know, I love connecting with Sam. I love connecting with her mission. I love that she's so fired up in helping women. And I love that this is no nonsense, no BS. And this is real. This is an incredible program. I'm very excited to share this with my listeners. Very excited to share this with you ladies because I truly believe in what she's doing. And if you've been sick and tired of the dieting roller coaster and you've been stuck in the cycle of obsession for a really long time, it's worth checking out. Go to hungryforhappiness.com/sexyfit for more details. Hello and welcome back to the Sexy Fit Podcast. Your host here is Zlata Sushik with Arriane Alexander. Hello.
Hi, Zlata, and the Sexy Fit Podcast.
Sexy Fit Podcast. I'm so excited to have you back.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
It's beautiful. We had our first podcast that aired maybe 7 weeks ago. And then I was sitting here and I was like, you know what? I gotta talk to her again about some stuff. Stuff.
We saw each other recently and had a, amazing conversation as usual. And so, there's always more just awesomeness in life to talk about, more ways to break through your fears and more ways to do what you really want to do. And so I think your podcast is just awesome for your listeners to be able to have this experience to do the thing they've always wanted to do.
I love that. And I believe there's so much depth to our conversation that we didn't get to experience last time because we're just getting to know each other. It was before we met in person. And I totally feel like a serious soul sister connection with you. So I'm super excited to just see what you're up to and excited to talk to you today about specifically diving into our subconscious fears that are creating an endless cycle of self-sabotage for us. And we're legitimately manifesting those fears to come to life and how we can create a beautiful healing experience based what's in our field, what's in our space right now. And we don't necessarily might not need to digress into all of these, deep conversations and workshops. We can learn from what is. So super excited for how things are coming together. So, can you share a little bit more about what's in your space right now? What's present for you in life?
Well, thank you for asking. I've had an amazing year so far, and it's been amazing because some of my greatest fears have manifested into reality. And so most people would be like, that's awful. Your greatest fears came true. But for me, the way that I walk through my life now, which wasn't the way I always used to walk through life, when my greatest fears come true, it can be challenging in the moment. And it was for me, definitely in the moment. I had two major things this year happen that just were, really challenging for me. And I'm on my floor crying my eyes out for a day or so. But then I just so quickly got the messages that it is all for my highest good. And everything that happened is absolutely for my growth, learning, and upliftment. And Zlata, what was fascinating about both these experiences is I shifted so quickly into such an empowered state because my worst nightmares came true. And so now I'm free. I really don't have any worst nightmares left. So if I thought I'm liberated, I'm free. So now I'm in the fucking zone. I'm like, what do I want to create in life? What am I scared of? Fuck it. Just do it. And it's so fun.
It's beautiful. You said a couple different things that I want to grab onto. Because you said, I cried my eyeballs out for a ground for a day or two. That was the sentence that came out of your mouth, which is so amazing because we can take the worst fear, we can take the worst thing and spin it into years and years and years of victim reality.
Oh, yeah. It's so easy for both these things that happen. One was in a romantic relationship and another was a major health issue. And I saw so clearly that most people would be taken down into a deep, upset, my life is, over. My life is so challenged. This is so hard. And I probably would have been that person 5 years ago. But what I see is through all the work that I do, all the opportunities that I have to continue to live in a place of allowing life to show me what I need to learn. I really trust this place where I live, that everything is for my highest good. And if everything is for my highest good, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing bad. So these experiences can come in and they don't take me down. I can look at it with loving, and I can look at the learnings, and I can look at the growth. And so I always look at life like this way. You know, I work with clients. I'm a business and life coach. So I work with clients all over the world. And what happens is with my clients, if something, call it quote, bad would happen, and they would, and it, you know, we all have these patterns that kind of the same thing will happen over and over again. And my client, like one of my clients I work with on relationship, and she's like, the same, like, it's the same guy again. And I'm upset again. And I'm so mad at myself for the same thing happening. But what I always reflect to her is, but look, you come out of it quicker. Where it used to take you 6 months, where you'd be 6 months questioning and crying and wondering what happened and blaming yourself and judging yourself. Now it takes you like 6 days. So the win is in when we can look back at our life experiences and see the shortened time frame of when we get over things and move on. And that's what I saw.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. Relationships are an amazing lesson. It's so interesting. I feel totally pulled into having this conversation with you right now. So do you mind me asking, what are some of the greatest lessons that you learned out of, you know, your biggest fear manifesting in a relationship? What are some of the takeaways? I don't want to ask the details because I don't want to, like, you know, redo the laundry with you. I would love to just have you share what the lessons were.
Yeah, and it's a great question. And, you know, I'm happy to share the experience because it is profound. And it's something that I know every woman and man listening to can relate to, because I fell hard and fast for this man. I basically had the Cinderella fantasy played out. Like, he swooped in and he's charming and handsome and wealthy. And he's like, let's go here and let's go there. And, oh, you're my lady. And I can't believe I've met, like, literally saying the words that I've always longed to hear are coming out of his mouth. And I'm like, this is amazing. How lucky am I? Oh my gosh. And so I'm traveling with him and having so much fun. And long story very short, I got played really hard. There was a wife involved, and there was a fiance involved, and then I was the girlfriend, and I didn't even know it. And it was
how did he have time for this? I mean, that requires some. Okay, you know what I want to learn from this man is time management skills. Like, bro, I want to know how you managed to have 3 of them crazy ladies in your life. Can I interview him? I'm just kidding. Just joking.
He's so busy. He's supposed to be on his phone all the time. I don't know how I kept it all straight, because I'm sure I wasn't the only other girlfriend there was. But I literally didn't know. Like, it was this experience of, you know, falling hard and fast. And then I was hooked. And then I was in it. And by the time I really started seeing all the signs and kind of figuring everything out, it was like, oh, I'd already fallen for this man. And so it was a really challenging experience to extract myself. And it's this whole crazy story. It's like a movie. Like, I met the fiance and we're friends now because she's like, hi, P.S. Like, he's been engaged the whole time you've been dating him and traveling around the country. And I'm like, what? You've got to be kidding me. So it's this crazy story. But what happened was, okay, so it's so easy for me to tell this story, and everyone goes, oh my God, he's such
what a dick.
What a dick. I can't believe he did that to you. He's such an asshole. Oh my God. Well, that's the easy way out. That's me being the victim of being like, I know, I can't believe this guy did this to me, and poor me, and he's so awful, and I didn't do anything. I was just being me. Okay, bullshit. This is where I had to call bullshit on myself and really dive into what was actually happening within me. And what I learned and saw, and this is why I can share it so profoundly now and so powerfully, is because I decided to own my part in it. I decided I was not going to go into blame around this person. I was going to go within and see what was my part, because it takes 2 to tango. So I had to see where I fell for the Cinderella story way too fast, where I should have slowed it down. I could have, not should have. I had the opportunity to slow things down and get to know him more before I really opened my heart and dove in so quickly. So I saw where I just went, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm going to jump in with both feet instead of, I don't know this person yet. And I don't really know who they are. They present this thing to me, but like, it takes time to really get to know someone. So I had to own where I saw the candy and I was like, I am going to do whatever it takes to get the candy. And even when the red flags started happening, of like, I started getting emails from like an ex, and it was from one of his exes. And so all this stuff started happening. So the red flags started happening pretty quick. And I, once again, chose to ignore them and go full speed ahead because I was in my own greed and narcissism of wanting this relationship, of wanting this man, of wanting this experience, of wanting to be treated like a queen, of wanting to travel around the country in first class and beautiful hotels and great dinners. I had to look at, because it was easy for me to look at him and go, he's so greedy and narcissistic because he was, really manipulating the situation. But I had to own that. That's just a projection. It's just a judgment. So I had to come back to myself and go, this sucks to actually own this and say this, but I was as greedy and narcissistic as he was in this experience because I went full speed ahead, even seeing red flags as I went along.
I'm so loving what you're sharing right now. You will not believe this. Okay, everybody, this podcast just got real good. I literally just went through a very, very similar experience.
Did you?
Oh my God. Yes. I don't know how long you were together. We were together for about 8 weeks, 9 weeks. So it's still long enough. It's in Southern California. This is like 4 years, y'all. Okay. It's like we're together for 4 years. And you know how we are when you're living in this, I'm going to say, well, conscious or unconscious world. But when you're living in our space where there's so much growth that happens so fast and we hop different phases so much faster than we normally used to, the speed of everything is amplified. I believe like the speed of time is like 10x these days, right? It feels so fast. So for us, 2 months literally felt like a year to me for how much I knew this person. And then I mentioned it once or twice on a podcast. And then, when we broke up, it was so easy to just say, okay, you're a total dick. Like you did this to me and you would not commit to this and you would not do this, but you said this. And I literally had to sit there. And when I was telling a story to my friend and I was like, no, I own my parts. I own my part where I went in head first. I own my part where I totally ignored all the red flags because the illusion that he has built was so much greater. And I also own my part where I have built an illusion for him to be this feminine little pretty flower when in reality I'm a pretty strong being and some things are not going to fly, right? Because it's like working on my feminine. So, and I was also in vacation space because I always take a month of March off. I was more like free with my time and I was on vacation. I was in a different space. And then when I got back to work, the true self emerged. Not like this picture that I painted for him of like, I'm this feminine flower, I'm go with the flow kind of person. I'm like, no, dude, I got a schedule. I got a schedule. I'll get you in on a Thursday at 4, So it was very interesting because I too couldn't set the pace. It was moving way too fast. I too have ignored all the red flags, and I too had, painted this beautiful picture for myself in a narcissistic way where my love was too conditional in a sense. So it's so interesting that we're going through similar experiences. I mean, it's never the same experience for anyone, but it's similar experiences, and it's beautiful that you just said, I own my part and I'm not playing the blame game.
Yeah. And I think from your experience too, that's the freedom because it's old conditioning to blame someone, to make someone wrong. And that I've tried to do that for, a lot of my life, but it's not where I want to live anymore. And it's not where I coach my clients to live because it's only still hurting myself. If I'm still blaming someone, I'm in a place of unempowerment. It's what I call the difference between an owner experience and a victim experience. So when I live in the victim experience, I think things outside of me can upset me. And I think things outside of me can determine my emotional state. And I think that other people have control over me. So, and if I live in an owner state, then I know that I have complete management over my emotional experience. I know that I can co-create with life. I know that I can take responsibility for self. And that is a fully empowered place where I want to live. And let me just say, taking full responsibility, it ain't no joke. It kind of sucks being a grown-up sometimes and having to take full responsibility. But, you know, it's where I want to live. And I'm not perfect in this way. You know, because even with him, like, even with the lying, you know, it's a good example of, you know, it lied to my face. And there were a couple things that are important in that, which I think are important to share, is that, first of all, I could, again, go into blame of like, he lied. Well, then, but I had to look at myself and go, well, where do I lie? Where do I do little white lies, and where do I lie to myself? You know, where do I lie to myself? And it can show up as subtle as this. I'm going to eat clean all day long, and then I'll, you know, binge on cookies or whatever. So I'm lying to myself. I'm saying I'm going to do one thing, and yet I completely do another thing. So that is lying to myself. So at the core of who I am, I can't say that I don't lie, because I do. And so how can I judge another in his lying if I'm doing it myself? So this is the really subtle work of personal development and inner growth, but it's where I have learned to, gosh, I'm so free. It's so freeing for me. It's so liberating and empowering, and it's more fun to live in this space.
Yes, and I love that you just said that. And also, the other flip coin of lies is the embellishment of what is. Because we like to embellish to even ourselves. Oh, you know, I worked out, 5 days this week. Okay, it was actually 4, and then I just went on a walk. Okay, it was 3 because the other one wasn't really a workout, but I still went to the gym. We have all these embellishments that we make ourselves feel good about. You know, we embellish in different areas of life. We're like, because you can't get upset with them if they're embellishing how much they make or what do they look like. Because I too just put on makeup, high heels, and a really super tight dress, just so you know that I'm very, very pretty and I am deserving of your love. So, and the intention of that is like, am I wearing, let's just take the outfit, right? Let's just take the outfit. Am I wearing this outfit to embellish who I am because I'm not confident enough in who I am so he could like me? Or am I legitimately wearing this outfit because I feel really good in it? Because that's also a different, even like a subtle thing that we're going to do as women, especially if we're single women and dating. I mean, I believe that's a good, it's a good distinguishment? Distinguishment a word?
Yeah, distinguishment. Sure. Let's just make up words. I love that.
That's it. It's a good differentiation. That's the word I was looking for.
Differentiation. Yeah, because it's so subtle. And to me, it's just where we all are crying out for love, and not we all, but most of us, let's say, are crying out for love and approval. So it's like, what am I willing to do? What am I willing to sacrifice within myself in order to get this love and approval from the outside, which I think I need? Am I going to put on my makeup and my hair and my dress in order to get what I think is love and approval? And, for myself, I can answer most of the time, yeah, and I do it for myself because I like that. But, it's just taking that inventory of self, which is important, of like, where do I go outside myself to get love and approval that I think I need when it's already all within? It's never outside of us, but we forget, and we have to learn how to continually come back and turn within in order to cultivate that self-worth, that love that we already are. Like, it's not outside of us. We're all born with this. The example I always give is the sun. Somebody will be like, one of my clients will say, well, I'm not worthy of this business or this relationship, or I don't deserve it. And the sun doesn't shine down on one person and say, well, she's deserving of a great business and a great relationship, and then doesn't shine down on another person and go, well, she's not. So we're not going to put the sun on her because she's not deserving of a great relationship and a great business. The sun doesn't care. The sun's like, you're all worthy. You're all deserving. You're all love. So get over yourself and do it.
Right. And if you are not worthy and deserving of that, who is?
Yes.
Like, is there somebody better or worse? Like,
yes. So it's been such a profound experience for me that I get to, oh my gosh, here's the things, Lotta. I think the most profound experience in all this with, I was like, oh, I have a title of a book I'll write someday. I got played and it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me because it threw me into a whole introspection of self. And I've come out the other side so much more empowered and so much more free. It's just so much more fun. And part of this is understanding the Cinderella fantasy and having compassion for the Cinderella fantasy that runs in every single woman. We do not escape it. It is in the DNA. It is in the collective consciousness. It's been here from the beginning. It will be here till the end. And, it's very subtle. It doesn't necessarily show up fully for women, but it's in there somewhere of where's the man gonna save me, or where's the man gonna take care of me, or how do I, do what I need to do to get the man, whatever it is. It shows up so subtly, but it's there. So for me who's like, I've been a coach for years. I have an amazing experience of coaching with women all over the world. I've been in personal development for over 20 years. I'm this conscious, spiritual leader, feminine, awesome woman. And I fell for the Cinderella fantasy. So I had so much shame when all this happened because I was like, how did I do that? How did I miss this? And how did I do this? And then what happened was this immense compassion came in because I went, oh, because it's in all of us. Of course I wanted it. Of course at almost 46 years old was like, oh my God, it's happening. And like, finally, and so I could have so much compassion for all of us who have this fantasy with men or have this fantasy of business, just anywhere we go outside ourselves for this love and approval. I went, oh my God, for all of us, I feel our hearts, and we're all in the same boat, basically, no matter how it looks.
It's so interesting because we don't just do this subtly in relationships. We do this at work. Like, how high do I need to jump for you to love me? What do I need to do? How much work do I need to take on? How much overtime do I need to work? How many things do I need to do around the house? How many school things do I need to do with you in order to be like good enough and worthy and all of these things? And we run around in like this noise of, hey, approve, validate, love me. And it just turns out to be exactly what we can give ourselves. And that's how we end up burnt out. That's how we end up being overcommitted. Every single woman I start coaching is overcommitted, like to the max, to the top. And because there's this need for love and validation, which is also in collective consciousness, because it's also about the safety in the tribe. And it's, for men, how we act with men is like thousands and thousands of years deep because we are supposed to be bonded to a man. We're hormonally oxytocin, we're bonded to a man. So of course, it's going to happen in a tribe, in a work, in a society. And of course, it's going to show up like a Cinderella story in our relationships. You are so spot on with that.
Yeah, and I totally agree with the overcommitment, and because we're all like overscheduled and have 8,000 things going on because of that. Oh, if I don't do this, then they're going to think this. If I don't do this, then they're going to think bad of me, or I'm going to get in trouble, or I'm not going to get the thing I desire. And what I always, the antidote to the overcommitment, it sounds so crazy because it's completely opposite, but is to really slow down. Mm-hmm. Because we think that we can, if we run faster and run harder and do more, that more will get created. And then I'll get the validation and the love and approval that I desire. When it's actually the opposite. The more that we can slow down, just even in our thoughts, the more space there is for life to come in and inspire what is truly desiring to be created, what is truly from the heart. Because what's true from the heart isn't, if I work harder, then I'll get the validation from my boss. That's not a heart space intentionality. That's a trying to get love and approval from the outside intentionality. The heart space It was more of a, wow, how do I really cultivate each moment when I'm working as an intentional? How do I be of service in my work? How do I continue to add value to the relationships and the people that I'm working with and the projects I'm working on? How do I feel so fulfilled and happy in what I'm doing each day? That's what the heart wants. And that's what's, when we can slow down, that's the true messages and the feelings and the experiences that can come in.
And how can I get excited about what I'm doing today? Because imagine nobody has ever gotten fired for being too excited.
Tweet that.
You know what I mean? But I've worked in corporate jobs. I ran a chain of beauty supplies for almost 5 years. And then, I worked some not so cool jobs when I moved to San Diego. I was bartender, I was whatever. So, and everywhere I went, even in my then frame of mind where I knew nothing about personal development, knew nothing about this work, I would be like, okay, I'm having a really crappy day at this bar shift, right? Because it's slow as hell. And it's like 7:00, there's nobody there. I'm like, how can I just have more fun? So I can have fun with one guy who's eating pizza and doesn't want to talk to me. And then next thing you know, there's more and more people that show up because he might call a friend or somebody might see that somebody's laughing on the outside. And then next thing you know, the bar fills in because everybody is excited because fun energy attracts more fun energy. Or at my corporate job, believe it or not, this is when I started wearing fun socks. There was nothing fun about my job. I started wearing fun socks and I always had a really funny, like glittery coffee cup or something like that. And it was the little things that made me a little bit more excited about going there. And I never stopped cracking jokes. And when I left corporate world, they were like, yeah, you're kind of loud, you're kind of obnoxious, but we really liked working with you because it was actually really fun. So nobody has ever gotten fired from being too excited. And I wasn't working for love. I wasn't like trying to really work it for mandalas at the bar. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, okay, I can either be in a shitty place of mind or I can be excited. So very interesting. I'm not sure how we got on this conversation.
Just goes.
It just goes. Very interesting. Love the very first lesson. There's a couple: owning your part, the blame game, going within, and realizing that it does take two to tango, and it does take two to tango at work, or maybe 7 to tango in teams. And I love that you said something about setting the pace, and then you repeated yourself in the sense of like, we need to slow down, because you can't like speed up the train that's already falling off the tracks. That's really not going to work. So what do you mean by setting the pace?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'll give you an example. So I have a client that I work with on the East Coast, and she's a health and fitness. I work with lots of health and fitness experts, and she's a health and fitness expert, and she has a private clientele, and she's been figuring out her website and kind of getting her branding and doing more social media. And then she emails me and she's like, I want to do my online program. Like, I have to get my online program up and running. And so what can we do for this? And this email was in a panic. Like, I have to get my online program so I can sell, my products to my people. And I have to get it done now. And this has got to happen. I could feel the urgency in her experience. And so when we got it, and so it's that thing of like doing, I got to do some more. I got to create, I got to da-da-da-da-da-da. So I got to build my audience, da-da-da-da. And she wants to be, from A to Z, in a month.
Yeah, you just asked me like 1,700 questions in one email.
Yeah, exactly. And so we got on the phone, and my encouragement was, would you be willing to slow this down? And what happens is she takes a big breath, and she's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, what's really important to you right now? And she said, well, actually, it's, I'd love to have 1 or 2 more private clientele. And I'm like, okay, great. So let's focus on that, because yes, we're going to, I'm going to support you in building an online program, but she doesn't have an audience yet. So I'm like, you can build an online program, but you don't have anybody to sell it to. Like, you got to have clientele and people and referrals and testimonials. And, there's a process to this. So I was like, the first step is to continue to build the one-on-one clientele. and get that really solid and get that all, so you have a solid flow of income and clientele. And then we move on to call it phase 2, which is creating more of an online program. So it was very clear where this shows up with so many of my clients because they want to do it all at once. But that's where the overcommitment comes in. That's where the overwhelm comes in, where everyone's like, I want to do all these things, and then nothing gets done because the overwhelm sets in and the overcommitment. So that slowing down is imperative in business and in relationships, but it's so counterintuitive. It doesn't seem to make sense. But when we can start to really slow things down and look at things from a new perspective, then the obvious next steps reveal themselves.
And it's a matter of who is setting the pace in your life.
Yeah. Right. So so with women who are married or not married to have kids or whatever, and work and that's where the victimness comes into again. And nobody likes that word victim. And I say that with complete neutrality. It's just a word to signify an experience. But that's where we call it the lack of empowerment comes in of I don't have time because my husband and my kids and my work and So everything else is placed outside. So life is dictated by everyone else's schedule and what everyone else needs. And then you have to run to keep up with that. So you're not dictating your own pace of life. And the slowing down doesn't even have to come in, call it the pace of life, because you're still going to have husband, you're still going to have kids, you're still going to have work. But what happens in the slowing down inside of literally, how do I slow down my breath? How do I slow down my thoughts? How do I create a little bit more white space, what I call white space in my calendar, even a little bit, in order to start the slowing down process so that you start to dictate, you understand that you're the driver of your time and you're the driver of your relationships and your commitments. You're not a victim to your life. You're the empowered owner of your life.
And it's incredible because there's another layer on top of that. So we have, I love that we have families. I love that we have kids. I love that we have jobs. I love that we have education. We live for that. And we choose that. We chose that. And how we manage that element is, who's setting the pace. And sometimes we have to adjust a little bit to things, and sometimes the pace just shows up. Here's another complex layer on top of that. When the overcommitment part, when we start to dance to the pace of what we think we should be because we're on Instagram too much. Or because, this coach is doing this and this person is doing that and I must do this and I must do that. The reason that we're so overcommitted is because we're dancing to the saga of when then, and we're trying to do all things all at once and all things to all people. And it's the societal pressure setting the pace. It's like an illusion that there is a place to get to. And there's this optimal state of being where we're all happy, and it's like you pass this threshold and then you're all of a sudden like this come to Jesus moment. And it's very interesting when we layer that on top of the already overcommitted schedules.
Yeah, of thinking there's a place to be and a place to get to. And when I call it the dangling carrot, when I get to the carrot, when I lose the weight or I build my business or I get in the relationship or I make more money, then I'll take my vacation and then I'll be nice to myself and then whatever it is. So, but the carrot's always dangling because the carrot always moves because even when you hit your goals, there's another goal. So then the carrot just keeps moving in front of you. So you're still chasing the carrot forever unless
you eat the carrot.
Yeah, because you don't eat carrot.
I'm like, you just snag the carrot, you go, nom, 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 nom.
Eat it. Make sure it's covered with chocolate first, though.
Yes. And chocolate-covered carrot?
I'd eat it. A chocolate-covered carrot. So the thing is, it's in that experience of, well, let me ask you a question. For everyone if you're listening right now, think of this question and really sit with it. What if everything in your life is exactly as it needs to be right now? That this moment is actually perfect no matter what it looks like, with all the challenges, with all the stresses, with all the things in your head. It's can you really embrace life exactly as it is in this moment? Because we create the future from our present. And what most people are doing is trying to create their future from the past. So, for instance, if you have an online business of some sort, or you want to build an online business, and you're looking at all these people who are like super successful at what they do, and you're like, how do I get there? And I have to get there today. And all these people are doing really cool things. So, but what happens is you're basing your future of creation upon the past, which has been not understanding how to build your business successfully yet, and not feeling confident in yourself yet, and having these fears and all these old beliefs that you can't do it because you haven't done it yet. So if you're trying to create your future from those old beliefs, you're totally screwed, because those old beliefs are going to be like, you can't do it, you suck, you're not confident, those people are so much better than you, they're so much smarter than you, they totally know what they're doing better, they obviously have more discipline and focus. So that voice is you're trying to create your future from that voice, where what actually happens is you get to create your future from this present moment. So if this present moment is like wiping the slate clean, can you really look at life exactly as it is right now and go, okay, this is again taking full responsibility. This is what it looks like in this moment. And I can really have gratitude for what it looks like, even if it's challenging. Even if it's challenging. And from this moment, decide to create your future in a new way. Of a place of gratitude and acceptance for what is, instead of like, it should be different, I'm not good enough, da, 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 da. So that's kind of where people get tripped up, is not understanding that's how we actually create.
And women more so than even men, because, I used to love dates and used to love timelines. And I mean, we spoke at Bliss Project this year, and everybody was like, what's next for you? What's next for you? How's the podcast? How's this? And I was like, to be completely honest, I have no idea. I have no idea. Normally I would have a perfect answer. I would have a perfect thing. I would know exactly what I'm doing in my podcast. I would know exactly what I'm launching. And I'm recognizing that I'm in a state of evolving. There's an evolution that's happening to me. I made a commitment not to run the Sexy Back Mastermind in the summertime to myself, which is like my signature program. I loved it. I enjoyed it. It was beautiful. And I have one running right now. And so it's like, okay, there's something different out there for me, and not sitting down and going, okay, well, I know all these strategies. I have an audience. I'm going to create this course. I'm going to sell the course, and not allowing the creation to happen, because there is this sense of urgency to create by a specific date, because this is what it should look like, because this is what online businesses should be. And this is what I want to, and that was liberating to truly, be okay with what is, and not needing to have these crazy, big, giant dangling carrots in front of my face, and just having gratitude for what is, and knowing that there's an evolution, there's white space that needed, and there's always something better, there's always something greater that comes along. And like you were saying in the beginning, the greater good. The greater good is what's happening to me right now. And it's like, man, even with knowing all of these things, right? It's like I could be super stressed out, but I'm totally in a beautiful place. It's very interesting. It's very cool.
Yeah, I hear that. And it sounds like you, even in what you just shared, is so important, because you listen to your inner guidance of what would bring you joy and inspiration, coming up in the summer. And it wasn't to have your mastermind. And so that sounded like that was clear. And what I hear in that is you just open up space for life to show you something even more extraordinary. Whatever it is, it could be a trip, or who knows, but life is going, life doesn't like a vacuum. It doesn't like empty space. So it wants to fill it with something. But we have to create that space for the inspiration and for the next steps and the clarity to come in. And so it sounds like you just did that, by saying no to the mastermind, you opened up to something else that's unknown, and you're so courageous to sit in the unknown, because most people don't want to sit in the unknown.
It's very interesting. And I'm finding peace in the unknown. I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm like, and now I have the opportunity to, I wouldn't say, I don't like the word promote because it's really not what we do. I mean, it's more like co-share an experience with Sam Skelly. I don't know if you've ever met Sam from Hungry for Happiness, and she's launching her mastermind. And I was like, girl, you are rocking it in the weight loss space and the emotional eating space and in binge eating space. I'll send you my people because I know that you're going to take great care of them and you're going to give them a unique experience that I'm not going to be able to create for them this summer because it's just not what is for me right now. You know what I mean? And it was a beautiful revelation to also like let go of that narcissism piece of like, well, I do the weight loss programs better than anybody else does. So, and know that there are amazing humans in the world. Like if it's life coaching, then I'll refer him to you. If it's, if it's binge eating and things like that, it's Sam. And I have this beautiful, amazing network of those who can, support my peeps once they come to me. So it's just a beautiful experience. So, I wanted to, I'm like, I don't know how we got here.
We're ladies. We just talk. We
just talk.
Talk about
beautiful lessons, Arriane. And what's really cool for me, I don't know if it has showed up for you, but patterns are patterns, right?
Yes.
Patterns are patterns. This is probably not the first time this has shown up in our life. Or perhaps it just showed up in a more shiny, glittery, wrapper. I'm like,
yes.
In a shiny wrapper. So patterns. And you mentioned that in the beginning that your client says, okay, I'm in a pattern, I date the same guy for, it's like the same shit, different day. Same guy, different name is what I used to say. So once we start to notice that there are these recurring patterns, what is a way to see if there is a pattern? Is there like a journaling activity or something like that? And then B, how do we break out of that pattern?
Good question. Yeah, because as you were saying that, the patterns show up all over our lives. So for instance, if you work for someone, if you go to work and you have, your boss, you like have the same experience. Like for instance, when I worked in the fashion business, I had a really successful career in sales and marketing in the fashion business for many years. And I would, the owner of my company, he was so not nice. He was basically like insulting and very abusive in his demeanor, very emotionally abusive and verbally abusive. And I would go in every time to his office for meetings thinking it would be different. And every time I would come out be bawling my face off because he'd basically be like, you suck at what you do. And I didn't. I was very successful. But that's what he would basically say to me. So the pattern was I was continuing to think something was going to change and he was going to change. And then it never did. And so I realized that he was the metaphor for my brother, who was also very verbally and emotionally abusive, and for other men in my life. Like I saw the pattern of how it was the same man, but it was in my brother relationship, and also with men I dated, being in
so cool.
physical and verbally abusive male relationships, and then with my boss, very abusive. So I was like, oh my God, like it's the same person, but it's all over my life. And so for me, that was a wake up call. That was part of the shifting process. So the way that you can do this to recognize the patterns is there's a couple of things to do. One is, and actually I'm glad you said this because I have a video series that you can download. It's www.arianefreebie.com. It's just my name, ARRIANE freebie, FREEBIE.com. And I know you'll put it in the show notes. And it's a 4-part video series that's called How to Bust Through Your Limiting Beliefs. So this helps you address your patterns and limiting beliefs because I do stem sentence completions. So what happens is if you sit down and you write out these stem sentences. So for instance, you sit down and you write out, I'm not successful because, and you just let your stream of consciousness go, fill in the blank. I'm not good enough because, let your consciousness go, fill in the blanks. And so I have all these different stem sentences that you go through and you write in what fills it in. And you'll start to see so quickly your limiting beliefs, your fears, your doubts, your patterns, because you'll be you'll put it down on paper and then you'll look at it and go, oh my God. Like here it is in front of my face. Because right now you're not aware of it because it's kind of all over your life. So it's not, you haven't taken the time probably to write it down. to actually focus on it. So once you start writing it down, then you can also see where it shows up in your life. So the first step is to do the STEM sentence completions that are in that free video series and downloads that I gave to you. And then really say, where else does this show up in my life? Because if it shows up one place, it shows up another place. Life doesn't compartmentalize into work, relationship, health. No, it's all one. We just think it's compartmentalized. So if it's showing up in your work, it's showing up, I guarantee you it's showing up somewhere else in your life, maybe more subtly. So once you have the STEM sentences written out and start seeing the limiting beliefs, seeing the patterns, you go, oh, okay, where else does this show up? So you'll start to see. So then that's how you identify them. And that's super important, obviously.
That is amazing. Can you give me the link again? Because I know a lot of people were listening and they're like, what was that again? I totally, we hear so many things on a podcast. We're like, what was that link? What was that book? Whatever. But this one is actually the one you probably should do.
Yes, you probably should write this down. It's www.arrianefreebie.com. ARRIANE freebie, FREEBIE.com. And this will totally, you'll walk through the videos and I have downloads and you're going to it's going to help you shift these limiting beliefs and patterns so much. Because the next step in this is once you've identified the limiting beliefs, identified the patterns, you can start going into a place of self-forgiveness around these patterns and beliefs. So, for example, with my abusive boss / brother / boyfriend / whoever else, we
will call all of them John.
Exactly. So I start doing self-forgiveness around these patterns because what this means is at some point, okay, so for instance, if I've bought into the belief, I just said it to you. I just told my story. I was like, oh, I was in these emotionally abusive relationships and verbally abusive, da, da, da. So something within me has believed that that's going to happen. Like, oh, well, I'll probably someone in my life is going to be emotionally and verbally abusive to me. So what I do is I forgive myself for ever having bought into the belief that I have to have these type of relationships in my life. Somewhere along the line, when I'm a little kid, it got locked in that this is normal because this is how my brother talked to me. So I thought, well, this is normal, but it's not normal. It's not healthy. It's not normal. So, and trust me, I'm not judging my brother. I mean, I love my brother and we have a great relationship and my boss and everything, but because I've worked through all this. But what happens is I forgive myself for buying into the belief that I will always have abusive relationships in my life. I forgive myself for buying into the belief that I shouldn't have had abusive relationships in my life because they shaped me. Even though it was challenging going through them, they shaped me into who I am today. So if I'm going to look at my life and go, well, that shouldn't have happened, I'm basically denying my life and making my life not okay. So I forgive myself for the judgments that I placed on these men. I forgive myself for judging my boss as an asshole. I forgive myself for judging my ex-boyfriend as a total jerk because it's the judgments that I've placed on him that create the pain. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's okay that they were so mean to me and told me I was a piece of shit. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm forgiving the judgments that I placed on them. I forgive judgments I placed on myself. I forgive myself for judging myself as not strong enough. Because I can easily look back at the situations and go, why the fuck did I not get up and walk out of the room? Why didn't I end those relationships earlier? So I can easily judge myself as doing something wrong, like not being strong enough in those situations. So I forgive myself because it's just a judgment. So when I can really start diving into the self-forgiveness around these patterns that I've bought into, these beliefs, these doubts, these fears, then that's where spirit does the work. Where spirit comes in and helps me start literally shifting my brain around these things and shifting my experience. And this is all in this download. This is all in here. So this walks you through how to do self-forgiveness, how to reframe, how to do all this. So that's how you really start shifting it. Identifying it, acknowledging it, seeing where the patterns show up in your life, moving into self-forgiveness around this, and then reframing the situations and the experiences. So to reframe it would be, for instance, a reframe would be, in the past, it would be like, I was in all these abusive situations growing up. Well, that's fine. And there can be truth to that, but that's just an old story that I don't need to tell. It's not helpful for me to tell anymore. So a more empowered place is that I've had a whole spectrum of relationships, and I have learned from every single one. And I am so empowered in my relationships today. And I have healthy, vibrant, amazing relationships all over my life today. So you see the reframe of like, relationship.
Yeah. And I think it's so powerful because it inevitably leads into a different action. You take a different kind of action and you start to recognize this pattern and you start to see how it shows up and you start to see how you are educating others with your behavior for how to treat you. And I'm in no way, shape, or form saying that was all a crappy relationship and this is how it happened. There were many beautiful things about it, and there were many beautiful spectrums of things that actually happened. Mine wasn't quite as severe. There wasn't a fiance and a wife. Like I didn't quite get that. It wasn't that colorful. Colorful. You like that?
Yes. It was very colorful.
And then when a pattern does show up, and check this out. Talk about patterns showing back up. Literally 3 weeks after my breakup, I meet a man who is dressed alike, who has a like occupation, who has gone through exactly the same coursework, personal development coursework, who has taught the exact personal development coursework, who has the same pets, literally, and like down to the point where it was in front of my face and I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I was like, okay, what do I like about this guy? I was, we come back from a date and I was like, what do I like about this guy? And I was like, he does this, is this. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in a pattern. And I was like dancing around. I was like, I'm in a pattern. I'm like, I can see the pattern. Cause you usually see it like after it's done. And I was like, yes. I'm in it and I know exactly what's happening. And I chose to do something differently because my motto used to be, we'll work for love. Like, we'll do whatever it takes to, and it took a really long time to even point this out. And I have a coach and I'm trained in all these different modalities and like I host a podcast. So for me, like things just, they're just in my face a lot more than that perhaps, I don't know. So, like just disregard all that. So I was in a pattern and I was like, oh my goodness gracious, this I will work for love thing is not what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to ground myself into enormous self-love and love, not like, well, you need to be doing this because I'm in a pattern. It's not like that. But what do I want? What feels good to me? When it feels good to meet? What feels good to wear? What feels good to say? What feels good to share? And not holding back what I know or my personal power, if you would, just so he would like me, because what if it happens if he doesn't agree with me? Like we have all these different things that happen to us when a guy enters our space. So it was very, very interesting to still learn and apply everything from the feminine side and still show up as myself. And it was just a beautiful experience. And the outcome is drastically different. Drastically different outcome.
I love that. And that's so important of that kind of last piece of taking different action. Of because life will continue, just like you said, like life gave you a similar man, a similar archetype of what you've had in the past, and you could have either gone into your old ways of being, and you chose to do something new and something different. And that's when we can start to become more empowered and more confident in self, is by choosing a different way, whether it's in business, because if you're a salesperson in business, let's say, and you're getting no's all the time, you're trying to sell whatever widgets to, stores, and you get no's all the time. Well, it's like finding out what the pattern is. What are you telling yourself about the experience? How are you making yourself wrong? Doing the self-forgiveness around it, reframing it, and then taking different action.
Yes.
Because only in the taking different action are we going to see different results. And so if the salesperson does all this process and then takes different action to engage with their customers in a different way, they're going to see different results, just like in relationship as well. So I love that you brought that up.
Absolutely. I mean, there's Mercury retrograde for a reason, okay? But these patterns, they'll show up. They'll show up, and until it's like, why do I keep getting the same thing in my life? Well, it's because you're not learning from the experience, or there's the opportunity to learn more, and there's opportunity to act differently. We can do this all day. Can't we? We can do this all day. And
we talk about.
I want to just acknowledge you for being extraordinarily strong and extraordinarily courageous to come on live and share these experiences, because, it's so very easy to fall into this perception of coaching that we must always be perfect. And I'm so happy that this is not the case for you or me, for that matter. And the point is to be of service, and you truly are living in that space and breathing in that space, and how you're showing up in that world. It's just incredible. So thank you so much for shining your light.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so happy. And it's true. It's easy to think that, we have to be perfect. And then it's like, but I have life experiences just like everyone else, and I experience a spectrum of life. And I'm really glad that I get to share this, because I can have, especially this Cinderella story. This is actually the first time I've shared it publicly, not for any reason, but it's just the first time I've really talked about it publicly. And it's great because I know people can relate. And I'm here to say there's hope on the other side of whether it's in your business, whether it's in your life, whatever these old stories and patterns are, you can shift it. And that's what's exciting to me. So thank you so much for having me and giving me the space to share and be vulnerable and really, help anyone listening as well.
Well, thank you so much, Beauty. We are going to connect your freebie to the show notes. You can find the show notes at sexyfit.com/podcast. And they're going to be there with the exact outline of where to find Arriane, where to find, this amazing freebie and everything that she shares with the world. So go to sexyfit.com/podcast, look for this fantastic episode and, do the thing, do this life thing. So thank you so much for everyone who's tuned in today. We will catch you on Wednesday.
Show must go on.
Hey sister, don't be so fast to click away. Remember to hit subscribe, and if you have a friend who must hear this, copy link and send it to her. She'll seriously thank you later.
For show notes, deals, videos, and other Sexy Fit related things, meetups in your city, please visit sexyfit.com. Stay sexy, ladies.